Good morning. Welcome to our live crafting session today. My name is Jenny McCormack and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire in the UK. Thank you for joining us. It is Wednesday, the 15th of March, and we have been using our stamp set of the week called Watercolor World for all of our live sessions this week. So this is the third of 4, and I've got a few hints and tips for you today. Let me show you the cards that we've created so far. So you can watch all of the videos for these on replay, either on Facebook, or you may find it easier on YouTube. Just search for Jenny McCormack or Jemini Crafts. I will pop a link to my YouTube channel in the comment section here. So if you haven't visited, feel free to do so. All of the videos that I create on Facebook are uploaded to YouTube. So on Monday we started with these 2 cards. I did a straightforward stamp just using Sahara Sand ink, and it's a single stamp, but it covers basically the whole of the card base. I then went on to show you how you could add different colours using sponge daubers. So these are little sponges that you can pop on your finger. You can just hold it if you prefer, ink it up, and then what we did was we inked up the stamp. I did it in early espresso, a little bit of old olive, and then Orchid Oasis. Morning Jeanette, morning Catherine. And then I stamped that sentiment on the top, wishing you joy in this next adventure. So that was Monday's, and then yesterday I created this card here with the heat embossing. I'm hoping it's going to show just about. Yes, it is. So this is glossy, so I used our Stamparator stamp positioning tool for that, and that allows you to stamp in the same place multiple times. And so I inked up in garden green first and stamped it onto my white card. I then just added some patches with my sponge dauber of early espresso and re-stamped it in the same position. I then cleaned off the stamp, applied Versamark ink, so our watermark ink, and then stamped that over the whole design, and then added clear embossing powder, which I then melted with my heat gun, and it creates this lovely glossy effect. And because the stamp and the ink is slightly uneven because of the way it's designed, it gives a nice relief to that image. So rather than being sort of flat and shiny, it's got a slight sort of matte, can't think of the word, sort of broken surface, which makes it look more realistic. So that's what we've created so far. Today I'm going to show you how to make use of the offcuts from the outside of this stamp. Now normally when you get our cling stamp, so this wouldn't be the same for photopolymer, because photopolymer stamps come just with the stamps, but the process of the red rubber means that the stamps come cut, but they come in a sheet, so you have to take them out of the sheet and pop the stickers on. And then normally what I do is I leave the sheet that they came from in the case, and then I know when I'm putting all my stamps back that I've got everything back in place, and I know then obviously if there's a gap I need to look for that missing stamp. So I find that personally particularly useful. Some people just take this piece out and discard it, And sometimes on the stamps where there's a large area, you'll find an element that can actually be removed. So this middle part of the puffin here has got a little piece of rubber that I've removed to make it easier for stamping. And again, don't throw that away because you can use that. So what we're going to do is basically we can make our own stamps out of this piece of rubber. So it's got a thin layer of rubber and it's mounted onto foam, and it's got a tacky surface here. That not tacky, but it will stick to the block, an acrylic block, like so. So what you can do is you can create your own stamps out of this excess. It's not deep enough really to manipulate the rubber, so you will see a lot of people do lino cuts, and then that has like a hard rubber that gets cut into. There's not really enough rubber for you to do that. I guess if you were very careful and you had some very fine tools, you could do that. But all I'm going to do is create some shapes. So depending on how much space you've got left, when I took this stamp out, I thought this is perfect for this technique. And because it's one stamp, I don't need to worry about fitting all the stamps back in, because it's obviously if the stamp is there or not. It's as simple as that. So all I'm going to do is just cut into this rubber, and I'm just going to use these pieces here. Now you could draw on these first if you wished, but what I'm going to do is, I know I've got this really nice edge here, so I'm just going to take my glasses off and just cut around this to make it more round. Now you could use a craft knife and a ruler or something to go round. So if you wanted some circle stamps, for example, you could just put a top or something on there, draw around it, and then use a craft knife to go round. So this technique has been around for a long time, and it's only when I saw the large amounts of stamp left over, I thought this is perfect. So this one, where I've cut it, is almost like a heart. So you could make that into a little heart. So it depends on what you want to use it for. You'll see what I'm going to do with this shortly. Okay, and you really need to cut it from the rubber side, because that's the bit that's you're going to stamp with. So it doesn't really matter how pretty or unpretty it looks. So those bits away. Let's do this one here. So it's not sticky, so it's quite easy to manipulate and cut. And I'm going to do this fairly quickly, so it's not going to be necessarily as tidy as I could make it, but it will serve the purpose. And then let's just do this one here, like so. If you've got young children or grandchildren, this would be quite a good fun thing to do with them. Okay, so now I've got some shapes. So what I can do is I can just mount those onto my stamp, on my block rather, however I want them. like that, and I'm going to do that one. And I think you can probably see where this is going for this particular design. So I'm going to mount those up, and then because these are the standard red rubber, we can ink this up and make a design on our card. So this you could use for a couple of things. I'm going to use it to make a camouflage background, but you could also use it for animal prints. You can make a great paw print, obviously not the way that I've cut this, but you can make a really good paw print with, you know, 3 and a larger one. Now I'm keeping this one out and you'll see why. And for my card today, I've got a white card base, a garden green layer that measures 10 by 14.35 centimetres, and I've got Sahara Sand that measures 9.5 by 13.85. Hi Zana. So we're using up the scraps of the rubber that comes, in this case, from the Watercolor World stamp set, but you can use it from any offcuts. So I'm just going to grab a piece of grid paper, just have a little practice, see what this looks like. So I've got garden green, I might switch to old olive, I'm not sure. And I'm just going to ink this up, like so, and stamp. It does look a bit too much like a paw print now I've said that, doesn't it? Okay. So obviously if you're doing a real camouflage it would be much more, you know, curly. And the reason I've left one out is so that if I'm stamping a whole design, I can just use the one to fill in any gaps and make it like that, and then I can come back in and use this. Okay, make a great animal print, as I said, giraffe or whatever. So let's pop this onto here. So I'm actually going to use a combination of garden green and early espresso. Large pebbles. Oh yes, that's a great idea. Yes, like a brick wall. That's brilliant. I do like that idea. Okay, so I'm going to use these here. To clean off in between. Yeah, that pebble idea is brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to still use the Watercolor World stamp set, as you'll see in a minute. And if you wanted to separate these out and just stamp them individually, of course you could. What you need to do is make sure that you're turning them so that you get them in different angles. They're not all the same, otherwise it looks a bit too obvious. So this is just going to be a background. So I think what I'm going to do is add this one in here. That was close, nearly inked up the wrong colour. Not that it really matters, does it? Let's pop in a couple like so. Okay. Let's clean this off. Let's pop some green down here. Oh, that was a bit obvious, wasn't it, that line? Never mind. It's only a background. I'm not going to worry about it unduly. So as I say, you could cut this into any shape. I do rather like the paw prints idea. I don't think we have any large paw prints. Okay, and then I've got another tip coming up for stamping small sentiments on small die cuts. There we go, let's pop these onto there. So I'm just using the edges of this one. So having a separate one is quite useful. But obviously the good thing is that those aren't connected together, so you could do it, you know, if you wanted to, if you had plenty, you could create your own complete background by putting them all on and stamping them. The bear with the wolf set. Oh yes, that's a good idea. Yes, that is a good idea, Summer. Right, let's see, let's put a bit of green in here. So say if you really wanted a proper camouflage, it would be, you know, they have quite sort of long, thin, different pieces, don't they? What colour have we got there? So definitely good for animal prints, but you could also cut this into strips. And as I say, you could chisel out a little bit to get a wood grain effect if you haven't got a wood grain stamp. So lots of things. As I say, the rubber is quite thin, so it wouldn't be like a lino cut where you're cutting into it in depth. Okay, let's just use this one. Let's turn that one round. There we go. I'm happy with that. Hopefully it's camouflagey. Okay. Right, so that is our background. Like so. And I've used Sahara Sand, so you could use a different colour. You could use a white card and go over it with a blending brush. I've got a blending brush here in brown, so I could add a little bit of this to the edges, so I won't do all of it. I was conscious of your time, but if you wanted to make it. There we go. Okay, so that's going to be our background. Hopefully it looks camouflage enough. Now what I'm going to do is stamp part of the world stamp, and I'm going to pop it onto a die cut, and that's going to go onto here, and then I'm going to have my sentiment. Now I haven't decided, that looks a little bit too big to me, so I'm probably going to go for this one. And I've chosen white, but it might have been better with Sahara Sand or something, but we'll see. So now what I could do is pick up an element of the world that somebody is travelling to. So if you go here, I want a fair bit in there actually. That will do. Okay, now I can't use the magnet on there. Oh, well, I could just on the very top. So if you want to be able to stick this down, what you can do is just use a little bit of glue behind the die cut, and apply it onto there and pop your die cut on top. And then, because you're only going to be using it temporarily, you could lift this off and just wipe off any surplus glue. So let's see what I've got to hand. I'm looking for my seal. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit on the back of here, and I'm going to detack it slightly. Decide where it's going to go. Let's put it in there roughly. Okay, and then I don't have, because I don't have space really for the magnets, they're going to get in the way of that. So I'm just going to use garden green again. And what I should have really done is put some paper behind this. Never mind, because I'm going to transfer this ink onto the back of here. So maybe we'll just be sensible and do that. Let's put this on here. Okay. That way I've got the option to re-ink if I need to. And also the glue goes onto the paper and not the base of the stamp apparatus. Okay, so if I want a little bit more on there, so this has got Europe, a bit of Africa in there, I could re-ink this and re-stamp it. And remember that there is some shading already built into this stamp. So, and I'm sorry if it's reflecting. I've only got 2 lights on. It's fairly bright. It's not sunny, that's for sure. Okay. There we go. So there's my panel. Going to go onto there. Okay. Alright, just going to take that off because I've got my other top tip, which is I've got this small die cut. And I've got a small sentiment, and if I was trying to line that up, it does fit, or at least I think it does fit, but it's a little bit hit and miss. If you were just free stamping, that you'd get it in the right place. So I'm going to show you a way to overcome that, either if you're stamping one or if you're stamping multiples. So the first thing I'm going to do is position my stamp, and it doesn't really matter where this goes, and it doesn't even matter if it's upside down, but let's just put that in the middle, like so. And let's just pop another magnet on there for the minute. So let's ink this up. I will use espresso just for something different. Just to get the image. Okay, so there is my sentiment. Appreciate it's quite small for you to see. Hoping this year is full of adventure and excitement. And then I've got my die cut. Now, it's a bit hit and miss if I try and put that on there. So what I've done is I've got a piece of card that the die cut came out of. So what I'm going to do is position this so that my sentiment is in the middle of the aperture from the die cut. And it doesn't matter, excuse me, it doesn't matter, as I say, if this is at an angle on here, because you're just going to position this accordingly, as long as you don't move your panel underneath. So you don't need to have the paper on it. And then I'm going to pop a magnet here and move this. Now this is really good if you've got lots of the same sentiment that you want to stamp. It's good if you've only got one and you're not very happy about stamping. Just bend that a little bit. So what you're going to do then is not move anything else. Pop your little sentiment, the die cut there, ink up your sentiment and stamp it. Like so. So there we have our sentiment in the middle. But the good thing is, if you need to go on and do some more, you just put the next one in. You can change your colour on your stamp. Just adding that. I've over-inked it a little bit, but it'll be okay. There we go. There we are. So each one is going to be in the same place because nothing here has moved. Okay, so that's our second top tip. Now what I'm going to do is just put this card together. So I've got, as I say, a garden green base and a white card, and then I've got my map of the world section and our sentiment that's going to go onto there, and I might wrap some ribbon or some thread around it. Let's put these layers together. One, two, three. There we go. And what I might do is look for some natural twine, some hessian or something like that. Let's see what I've got. It's a bit too thin. So this is let's get the English, fine art ribbon. So it has got a bit of gold running through it, but it is crumb cake, and that goes really well. Or is it Sahara Sand? Doesn't say, but it goes really well with this. So I'm just going to cut this. There we go. And let's just work out where this is going to go. So I can put this in the middle, this here, and a sentiment sort of overlapping. I think that will work. So let's just apply the glue and wrap the ribbon round. Like so. And then you've got time to just move that if you need to. You could do this on grid paper and make sure that that was equal. There we go, that will do. So I'm going to pop that layer down. Hi Fran, I hope you're well. Thank you for joining us live. Okay, so we've created a a background, as you can see here, using the offcuts of the stamp from Watercolor World. So I've cut out some of these extra bits and pieces from the remainder, created a background, and then I've got some image sentiments here and my image that I've stamped. I really do think I want that to be on Sahara Sand. The white is just a little bit too bright, so let's just swap that back over. So I also showed how to stamp accurately on small die cuts, and if you've done that, Fran, you probably have. So using the outside edge from the die cut. Ah, excellent. Yes, funny enough, I looked in my drawer because I do tend to keep larger pieces for the same reason. And I did think a big paw print would be nice, because it was almost like a paw print by accident. Thanks, Jeanette. And Zana came up with the idea that this design would make a great background for stones, you know, like a brick wall, stone wall. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this back on. Doesn't really matter where it goes. Take that one off, pick it up, and I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is stamp this, and then I'm going to die cut the circle after. So just pop this on. If I was clever, I could stamp the whole thing and then die cut two circles from it, couldn't I? Okay, there we go. Let's do this in, just going to do this in garden green. Go. It's mostly on there. Yes, it is. Okay, that's much better. Just going to do another layer, and then I've got one more tip for you. Depending on whether you like to measure in centimetres or inches. You might, I'm sure you already know this, but I will show you to help you trimming. Okay, there's our background ready. And I'm just going to die cut a circle using our Stylish Shapes dies. And this is the size that I'm going to use. So if I was sensible, I could cut two out of it. I'm just looking for the dies and where I put them. Right, let's see if I can find them. I need to find my set. There we are. So yeah, these are the Stylish Shapes dies, £28, and you get the circles, the squares, and those lovely banners. Is that the size? Yes, it is. Right, just cut that. Sorry it's not on screen. go. Okay, so this is going to go onto here. That's it. And this is going to go as an overlap. Now I'm thinking I want something behind here because it's disappearing into that. So I'm just going to grab the next size up and do a background in, so I could do the garden green or I could do early espresso. Let's see which one I come to first. I've got the garden green offcut, so that's what it is. There we are. Okay, so complete diversion from where I started. That's it. Now I need to look at the stamp. That's it. Okay, right, let's put those down. I've got it wrong again, haven't I? That's it. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to pop this one up on dimensionals. And for some reason, yes, I've only got little ones to hand because my others are packed ready. They'll do the job though. And then this one here. There we go. Let's pop this one down first. So just taking those off over my little bin. That's it, there's South America. There's the UK. Oh, that would have been easier if I just looked for the UK. Okay, that's going to go on to there. So this would be great for somebody obviously in the army or something and going off on their travels. And I just want this. I'm going to take this one off and put a little bit of glue on there. I want that to overlap this circle. I don't want the dimensional underneath it as well, otherwise it'll be double height. There we go, I got there in the end. So there is my background with the offcuts of the rubber. I've got the world map section die cut, and then I showed you how to do multiple stamping on those dies. And then finally, the last tip for you, if you use our Stampin' Up trimmer, okay, so at the top of the trimmer, and you've got the blades here, you've got a scoring blade and a trimmer blade. And if you put a piece of card in here and you're measuring centimetres, so this is the starting point, so if you wanted to measure something that was 8 centimetres, you can slide it along till you hit the 8. It's a bit more tricky if you're trying to do inches, and I've noticed a lot of people will do this to the inches, but they're not putting it right up to the top, and therefore it's very easy when you're cutting for this to move and it's not straight. So the interesting thing that you may not have noticed is at the top of the trimmer, let's move it out of the light a little bit, the centimetres are on the top and the inches are below. But at the bottom of the trimmer, it's the other way round. The inches are on the outside and the centimetres are on the inside. So you can bring this down. If you wanted 3 inches, you can bring it down right to the bottom, slide it over till you get to the 3, and then you can do your scoring or your cutting. There we go. That's my third and final top tip for today. So I hope that's been useful. Yes, giraffes, what else did we say? Yes, animal prints, paw prints, all sorts of things. Just stones. Yeah, great. So there we go. So I hope you enjoyed that. Something slightly different with our Watercolor World. Maybe I'm thinking I should have used early espresso for that layer. I might lift it off and replace it. We'll see. Only because it gets a little bit, it's disappearing a little bit behind that, isn't it? But there we go. So those are our cards. As I say, you can see the other cards on replay via YouTube, which is this one here with the heat embossing, and then these two. And I'll be back tomorrow with another design using the Watercolor World stamp, which is this one here. So that will be 7 PM UK time, but obviously it will get uploaded to Facebook, to YouTube fairly soon after that. So if you're watching obviously from somewhere else in the world, or you can't watch us live, you'll be able to catch us on replay at any time. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm definitely going to switch that over to an early espresso layer. Hopefully I can just lift that out. Yes. Lift this up. There we go. There we are. Leave my little bits there, and I'm just going to switch this over because it's just disappearing. It's supposed to be camouflaged, I suppose. So thank you so much, everybody. I look forward to crafting with you again really soon. Have a great day, a great afternoon, evening, depending on when you're watching. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.